Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. In a parliamentary system, there are two executives. One is the President, who is the nominal executive, and the second is the Prime Minister, who is the real executive. Article 75(1) states that the Prime Minister is appointed by the President. However, the President is not free to appoint anyone as the Prime Minister. The President, according to convention, has to invite the leader of the majority party in the Lok Sabha to form the government. In case no party secures a majority, the President uses his discretion in the appointment of the Prime Minister. For example, the President used his discretion while appointing Deve Gowda or I.K. Gujral or Atal Bihari Vajpayee as the Prime Minister. The President holds office during the pleasure of the President, but it does not mean that the President can dismiss the Prime Minister at any time. If the Prime Minister loses the confidence of the Lok Sabha, he must resign or the President can dismiss him. The powers and functions of Mr. Prime Minister. First point, appointment of ministers. According to Article 75(1), A. Ministers are appointed and portfolios are allotted by the President on the advice of the Prime Minister. B. The Prime Minister has the authority to reconstitute, reshuffle the ministry. For example, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on July 2022 reshuffled his ministry. C. The Prime Minister has the authority to ask ministers to resign or advise the President to dismiss the minister. For example, the then Prime Minister of India, Manmohan Singh, asked A. Raja, the then Minister of Communication and Information Technology, to resign after the 2G spectrum scam. D. The Prime Minister not only presides over the meetings of the Council but also guides the ministers. E. The Prime Minister is responsible for coordination among his ministers. Second, link between President and Council of Ministers. A. It is the duty of the Prime Minister to communicate to the President all decisions of the Council on matters related to the administration of the Union and proposals for legislation. B. The Prime Minister must furnish information related to the administration of the Union and proposals for legislation as the President may ask for. C. If the President so requires, to submit for the consideration of the Council of Ministers any matter on which a decision has been taken by a minister but which has not been considered by the Council. D. The Prime Minister advises the President with regard to the appointment of important officials like Attorney General of India, election commissioners, etc. Thus, the Prime Minister is the link between the President and the Council of Ministers. Third, Chairman of Commission. Prime Minister is the Chairman of Niti Aayog, National Development Council, National Integration Council, National Water Resource Council. Thus, the Prime Minister plays a significant role in planning policies of these commissions with its officials. Fourth point, Foreign Affairs. In spite of having the External Affairs Ministry, the Prime Minister is regarded as the architect of foreign policy. The Prime Minister pays official visits to various foreign countries and meets various dignitaries to discuss matters of mutual interest and signs various treaties on matters like trade, science, technology, education, etc. The Prime Minister attends international conferences and puts forward the views on various issues facing the world. The Prime Minister sends warm greetings and messages on important occasions and sends assistance during times of crisis. For example, India provided help to Sri Lanka during the recent crisis. Fifth, Leader of Lok Sabha and Party. A. The Prime Minister advises the President on the summonings and proroguing of the sessions of Parliament. B. The Prime Minister can recommend the dissolution of the Lok Sabha to the President. C. The Prime Minister makes important announcements on national policies on the floor of the House, answers questions, clarifies and defends policies under criticism, comes to the rescue of ministers when they are unable to answer the questions put forward by the opposition. D. It is the responsibility of the Prime Minister to appoint men of experience and credibility to strengthen the party base at the local, state, and national level. For example, few ministers were appointed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi to oversee the strengthening of the party base in West Bengal to win more seats in the 2024 election to the Lok Sabha. Thus, the Prime Minister is the chief spokesperson of the government and the party. Thus, the Prime Minister holds an important position and therefore he is described by political thinkers and constitutional experts as, according to Munro, he called Prime Minister as the captain of the ship of the state. According to H.R.G. Greaves, the government is the master of the country and the Prime Minister is the master of the government. According to Lord Morley, Prime Minister is first among equals and keystone of the cabinet arc. According to Jennings, He is the sun around which planets revolve. He is the keystone of the Constitution. The above points indicate the role or importance of the Prime Minister. Council of Ministers. Article 70 Constitution makes provision regarding the Council of Ministers with the Prime Minister as the head to aid and advise the President. The number of members of the Council is not specified in the Constitution. The numbers are determined according to the need of the time and discretion of the Prime Minister. But in 2003, subclause 1A was inserted to Article 75, which provides that the total number of ministers, including the Prime Minister, should not exceed 15% of the total number of members of Lok Sabha. The Constitution does not classify the Council into different ranks. There are 3 tiers or ranks in the Council. They are as follows. Cabinet Ministers. The Cabinet is the inner body within the Council. The Cabinet Ministers are in charge of important departments like Home, Finance, External Affairs, etc. They attend all meetings and give shape to the policies of the government. Inner Cabinet or Kitchen Cabinet. The Prime Minister finds it difficult to hold discussion and take decisions with the Cabinet Ministers whose numbers may be 15 to 20. Therefore, the Prime Minister decides issues of significance in close consultation with his closest confidants whose number varies between 1 to 4. These confidants of the Prime Minister constitute the inner cabinet. Ministers of State. The Ministers of State are below in the rank of cabinet ministers. They either may be given independent charge of departments, for example, Rao Indrajit Singh, or attached to cabinet ministers, for example, General Retired V.K. Singh. The Ministers of State do not attend cabinet meetings unless invited. They attend when something related to their department is considered by the cabinet. Deputy Ministers. The deputy ministers are attached to cabinet ministers or ministers of state and assist these ministers in performing departmental responsibilities. They are not given independent charge of departments. They take no part in the meetings of the cabinet. Thus, the Council of Ministers rarely meet as a body. It is the cabinet which shapes the policies of the government. The above ministers have to be members of either House of Parliament. A minister who is a member of one house has the right to speak and take part in the proceedings of the other house, but has no right to vote. For example, the Finance Nirmala Sitharaman is a member of the Rajya Sabha. A person who is not a member of Parliament can be appointed as a minister, but within 6 months must be elected to either House of Parliament, otherwise ceases to be a minister as per Article 75(5). For example, Mrs. Smriti, who lost from Amethi in 2014, was inducted to the Modi government. The salaries and allowances of ministers are determined by Parliament from time to time by law. The ministers get handsome salary, allowance, and office expense. Collective responsibility or joint responsibility. One of the features of parliamentary system is collective responsibility. Article 75(3) states that the Council of Ministers is collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. When the Lok Sabha passes a no confidence motion against the Council of all the ministers have to resign, including ministers from the Rajya Sabha. Instead of resigning, the ministers can advise the President to dissolve the Lok Sabha on the ground that the Lok Sabha does not represent the views of the people. There may be difference of opinion between ministers while formulating policies, but it is the duty of every minister to resolve their differences and show a united front before the people. That is, they must work as a team. The ministers are responsible for the success and failure of policies. Thus, they swim and sink together. Individual responsibility. Article 75(2) states that the ministers are individually responsible to their ministry. If a policy is successful, the minister is praised, and if the policy is unsuccessful, the ministry has to face brickbats. For example, V.P. Singh, the then defense minister, resigned from Rajiv Gandhi's cabinet due to Bofors scandal. If an individual minister has differences with colleagues, the minister must resolve his differences. Otherwise, the minister must resign. For example, Harsimrat Kaur Badal from the Akali Dal due to difference of opinion with the BJP with respect to farm laws. If the concerned minister does not resign and continues to air his differences, the Prime Minister will ask him to resign. For example, P.R. Kumaramangalam was asked to resign by the then Prime Minister of India, Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao. If the concerned does not resign, then the Prime Minister will advise the President to dismiss him. Thus, the Prime Minister ensures solidarity among his ministers.